What's good, y'all? I already know where y'all at. It's your boy Star Jones, and it's a new episode of Star Views. It's about to start right now. So please, I hope you got your hookah ready, and I hope you got your cups full of whatever ready, because I got a lot to talk about, alright? Know what's going on. Star Jones, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Please and thanks, you heard?
What's good, folks? It's your man Star Jones. I'm back, man. First episode of Star Views for the month of October. As I mentioned on my gram, for those who follow me, I've said, throughout the week that October's gonna be a very busy first 3 weeks. There are movies that are coming out every week. I did not put out a chopping it up for this month. I've just been kind of busy with the real life stuff. But again, October, we're back. We got a lot of work to do. And on tonight's episode, we'll be talking about Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which is a sequel from the movie that dropped in 2018, starring Tom Hardy as Venom. In this sequel, we got Woody Harrelson playing the infamous Carnage. So we got a lot to talk about. I think this is probably going to be a pretty long episode. For those asking or maybe laughing at my voice right now, I just spent the last 3 hours yelling because I'm recording this immediately after the Jets' first victory of the season. So shout out to my Jets fans. So I'm going to try to talk as loudly and as clearly as possible so you guys can hear me. Bear with me. I apologize, but today was a good day for myself and my New York Jet fans. But anywho, I'm going to go get this hookah, right? Because I am going to be smoking hookah with you guys. It's been a minute since I actually smoked hookah with you guys, just because of timing and what's been going on the outside when I smoke hookah versus, when the time that I record. So good news, we're going to smoke hookah together. I'm also going to have a drink with you guys, and when I come back, we're going to get right into it. I think it's going to be a pretty long episode. I think there's a lot to talk about as far as the sequel's concerned. So I'll be back in 2 ticks, alright? Cool. So we back, y'all already know what time it is. We just going to get straight into it. So we got Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Like I mentioned before, this is the sequel to the 2018 Venom again, starring Tom Hardy. This time we have Woody Harrelson playing Cletus Cassidy, aka Carnage. We have Naomi Harris in the film. She plays another Marvel villain, Shriek. So we could just get straight into it and talk about what transpires in the film. So we see Venom. I don't believe too much time has passed from the previous film to this one. If you guys recall, because again, I just watched the first Venom movie Friday night before I actually saw the sequel. At the conclusion of the first film, we were teased that we were going to get Carnage. One of the post-credit scenes was Eddie Brock going to see Cletus Cassidy in his prison cell in San Quentin, and he utters the words Carnage. So we all had the big, oh my God, we can't wait to see it on the screen. So here we are in 2021, after a couple of delays due to the pandemic, we finally got our sequel. So the movie picks up. We see Venom coexisting with Eddie Brock, aka Tom Hardy, and it looks like they're getting along fine a little bit, and they're just having a lot of conflicting issues. We all know Venom, the symbiote, or symbiote, however you want to say it. I say symbiote. The symbiote has a hunger for brains. He has to eat people to satisfy whatever cravings that he has to, because that's just what the nature of his species is. They just eat people. They eat things in general. But Eddie Brock, again, being a noble human being somewhat, he's like, yo, we can't just go around eating people for no reason. So they begin to butt heads about that. And in the midst of their little butting of heads, Eddie Brock has the interview with Cletus Cassidy. For those who don't know who Cletus Cassidy is a homicidal, sadistic, murderous maniac in the world of Marvel. He's best known for just mutilating people and just having no remorse about it. He's one of Spider-Man's biggest villains, etc., etc. So Eddie Brock scores the interview with Cletus, and Cletus agrees, listen, if you do something for me, I'll give you the story. You can solve your case, whatever the case may be. Venom ultimately is a super intelligent being from outer space. So he was able to pick up on some clues where Cletus tried to, I guess, throw Eddie for a loop. So Eddie ends up finding out where a bunch of bodies are kept that Cletus killed. And so now Cletus, because they found these bodies, that he was in jail for life for murder, but he never got the death penalty because they didn't have the bodies. But Cletus decided he wanted to put all the bodies in one spot. Eddie finds the bodies, and now because of that, he's sentenced to the death penalty. So Eddie goes there again. Eddie goes back and forth to the prison to see Cletus a couple times. And pretty much one of the final times he goes to see Cletus, which is, I think, moments before he's sentenced to death, they get into a little, like, argument, and Venom develops this, like, big brother relationship with Eddie. Like, he, like, genuinely looks at Eddie as a friend. So Cletus says something that I guess is near and dear to Eddie Brock's heart. Eddie Brock obviously feels a way about it, so Venom attacks Cletus. So in the process of him attacking Cletus, Cletus was able to bite Eddie Brock's finger, and somehow the symbiote, a piece of Venom, was transferred into Cletus. So this in the movie is ultimately how Cletus becomes Carnage. I don't think that's much of a spoiler. I feel like they gave us that in the trailer, so I don't think I'm ruining anything for you guys. But pretty much, Cletus obtains the power of the symbiote from Venom, and now Carnage is born, and then that's when the movie that's when I guess you could say the roller coaster begins, because the pace of the film at the beginning was kind of slow. It was kind of just seeing Eddie and Venom go back and forth with their banter about right and wrong, and then finally Carnage is born and he escapes prison, and then that's when the movie starts. He goes and he finds Shriek, who ultimately was a love interest of Cletus Cassidy when he was a kid, and like I said, that's when the roller coaster begins. When I come back, I'm going to tell you guys whether or not you should see the film, the pros and cons, and all that good stuff. Alright, so just give me a second. Enjoy your hookah, and I'll be back. We back, folks. Y'all already know. It's your man, Star Jones. Best part of the show. I'm going to tell you guys whether or not you see the film, I'm going to rate it and all that good stuff, and give it the pros and cons. Start with the pros of the film. I want to shout out Tom Hardy, Andy Serkis, the director. I think Tom Hardy he's an amazing actor in his own right, and he really fully embodies the role of Venom. I think he does an amazing job. He's like Harley Quinn. I mean, Margot Robbie for Harley Quinn. You know what I'm saying? She does an amazing job, and I think Tom does an amazing job as Venom. I think he does an amazing job. So him on the screen as Venom is an important factor in this film, this franchise. I think without Tom Hardy, it probably wouldn't be what it is. So that's the first pro. I think, like I said, Tom Hardy's really the man. Woody Harrelson, also amazing actor. I think he did an amazing job playing Carnage, Cletus Cassidy, and the way it, he plays someone who seems like they're off their rocker, got a couple screws loose. He does a good job of doing that. So I think he also does an amazing job as Cletus Cassidy. Another pro of the film, I'm big on timeline. I'm happy that a lot of time hasn't passed in the film. That makes the story that much better. I always feel like if there's too much of a time lapse in franchises, I guess fans, we could kind of lose focus. And I think because they kind of jump right back into the story from the post-credit scene in the first film, that was a good thing. The CGI in this film was amazing. Carnage looked. They did a pretty good job of making Carnage look scary. And for it to be a PG-13 rated film, they really made Carnage look horrific. Like, I think if I was a little kid back when, I probably wouldn't have been too fond of looking at Carnage on the big screen. He was definitely menacing and terrorizing in his look. So that's another pro to the film. But CGI was never an issue. The first film had amazing CGI, so I didn't expect anything less. Um, I think the story was good, but that kind of segues into my cons. Excuse that. Kind of segues into my cons a little bit though. The Carnage I know, because from a comic book fan standpoint, I've read Maximum Carnage. I've read a lot of Carnage's comics. Carnage is a very, very, very menacing character. Like, he's scary. Even in the pages of comics, you kind of on the edge of your seat because you just don't know what Carnage does. And I just feel like I just mentioned the PG-13 rating and them making him look scary, but I think I applaud them for trying to do as much as they could with a PG-13 rating, but like Deadpool needing to be rated R, Logan, the Wolverine movie being rated R, you were able to finally see the severity of in nature for these characters. They're savages. You know, you didn't really get to see Carnage on a savagery. Now, again, they pushed the limits. They tried to show as much as they could, but I just feel like they fell short of really portraying Carnage, the same Carnage that we saw in the comics on the pages of those graphic novels. Like, it's a big con for me. Like, as I posted on my Instagram, I said, I'm kind of disappointed that this is PG-13. It kind of flew under the radar for me because I always was under the impression that it was rated R, but that's that, you know. Kind of let me down with the PG-13 rating, and because that PG-13 rating, it kind of affected how they portray Carnage on the film. And so that for me, that's one of the cons for me. Again, they tried their hardest to really do the most they could in trying to show his savagery, which I think they did a good job of. But as a fan of, you know, not necessarily Carnage, but just knowing his nature and his history in the comics, I felt like they kind of fell short on the graphic part. But again, for me, as a comic book fan, I want to see that portrayed on the screen. And that's why, because it wasn't rated R, that was a big problem for me. The story of how Carnage came to be, they also kind of, in Maximum Carnage, Eddie Brock was in jail with Cletus Kasady. And then that's exactly how the symbiote got transferred over to Cletus Kasady, without spoiling the comics for you guys. But, you know, I use that as source material on my feelings. So the story a little bit was off from what I know and the history that I know, so that kind of blew minds a little bit. It was not a big con, but it is a con nonetheless. Another con for me is, I don't know, the movie started really slow. Like, the pace of the film wasn't fast. Like, I think it was evenly paced, but it just seemed very slow in the first like 20-25 minutes. Maybe first 30 minutes of the film, it just seemed slow. Then once Carnage was born, Cletus Kasady became one with the symbiote. That's when the pace of the film kind of, I guess, started building up, like I mentioned in the intro. Well, the mid part of the show, I said, you know, the roller coaster ride begins. In Cletus's background, this is a pro. I did like that they mentioned that he killed his family. Sorry if that's a spoiler. It's a mild spoiler though. It doesn't have an impact on how the film transpires. But I did like that. That is a pro. But ultimately, I just feel like the film, because the PG-13 rating really was bad for me. And that's the thing. I guess I gotta stop expecting so much from these films. But as a comic book fan, and I'm sure my comic book fans out there could relate, like, when we see things on the pages, we kind of want that to be transpired onto the big screen. And I just feel like they fell short of that. The story itself was cool, but it just wasn't nothing. It wasn't anything breathtaking. So yeah, Naomi Harris played, I guess, a good role for the limited role. She didn't have much speaking lines, but nonetheless, I think she did a decent job. But overall, I just felt like the movie fell short of what we know from Carnage in the comics. So that's that. And with that said, I am going to give this film, I'm gonna give this film 6 stars. I'm gonna give it 6 stars just because, like I said, It just didn't do it for me. I didn't walk away from the movie blown away. Um, I just wasn't blown away. Um, I just felt indifferent, just like I did in the first film. The first film wasn't terrible, it wasn't bad. It just, I think it was okay. And I think this film was okay also. Now, with that said, and I'm not gonna ruin it, but the post-credit scene, Sony did something, and that's a pro. The post-credit scene was amazing, and it kind of just set the Sony universe up for some ill shit. So, with that, the momentum for this film is gonna be there, just because the movie I think already made $90 million in the first weekend, so it's already doing numbers. And I think it left enough for fans to want more. And with that post-credit scene and what we expect in the whole Spider-Man, you know what I'm saying, universe, and the Mobius and the Cravens, Sony got a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of stuff for us to look forward to as fans. So with that post-credit scene, it kind of, so I'm gonna change it. Scratch that. I'm gonna give the movie 6.5 stars because of the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene gave it half a grade, so 6.5 stars. So should you guys see the film? Yeah. If you're a fan of the Sony Spider-Man universe, or are you just a fan of Venom or Carnage, I think it's good fan service. But as a movie overall, I just don't think the movie overall was something that was like, oh, you gotta see it. But if you're a fan of Venom, if you're a fan of Carnage, definitely check it out. I don't think you should spend the money. I don't think the money, I think you could wait it out till when it comes on to one of these streaming apps, and you can, do that. Definitely keep your money $40 in your pocket. But again, if you're a fan, definitely do that fan service to yourself and check it out. So that is that on Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I will be back next week. We got a new James Bond 007 movie coming out. My son Daniel Craig, doing what he does in that role. So, and I believe this is going to be his last time playing 007. So that's something we're going to look forward to. I will do my homework and watch a couple of his previous films. I haven't seen them in some time, so definitely going to do my homework on that. So when I see you guys next week, we're going to have that ready to go. Alright, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. It's your boy Star Jones, y'all already know. Make sure y'all follow me on Instagram and all that. I'm on TikTok now, Star Views _. So I'm gonna have a lot of content on there too. So yeah, man, appreciate y'all. See y'all next week.
Oh, y'all still here? Appreciate y'all for sticking around, man. But I don't got no more hookah. But what I do have is more content on my YouTube channel. So please, if you haven't done so already, hit that red button and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notified as soon as I post anything. Alright? And if you haven't already followed me on social media, here's my information. Make sure y'all follow up. Appreciate it. Y'all still here, man. That's valid. Have a good one.